live. Welcome, welcome. If you're here on LinkedIn, welcome to the webinar today. We are live here with Reese Gomez from SalesSparks. I'm Greg Rossner with Pitch Kitchen. And we're going to jump into the 5-part killer sales and marketing recipe. And I put the heart there. We put the heart because could we live in a world where sales and marketing love each other? So that's sort of the underpinning of this webinar today. So we're going to talk about this 5-part killer sales and marketing recipe that smart CEOs use to 2x deals. Welcome to the webinar. People who are just joining in now, welcome Lydia, welcome Ira, Johnny, Frank, and Anthony. Welcome, welcome. We're going to get started in just a minute. Just do a quick check. Am I sharing my screen? Not yet on Zoom. Let me share my screen on Zoom. Okay, let's see. If you see my screen okay, and you can see both Reese and I, if you type in the comments, okay. Just type in the chat, okay, if you can see us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Type in okay. All right. There's Reese and I in the upper right-hand corner. So let's get started. As you see on your screen, there's a poll. Where did the word slides come from? Reese, what are your thoughts? Remember the word slides? Is it a microfiche viewer, Kodachrome?
I think I remember, but I'm thinking it comes from those little slides we used to make that used to plug into a projector. But I don't know for sure. I know it didn't come from PowerPoint.
Yeah. So it looks like most people here voted. Let's put the vote here, end poll, and share results. So most people have it right. 67% Kodachrome carousel. That is the right answer. Those little slides you put into the carousel. Remember the Don Draper thing? He was like selling that carousel thing. That's where slides came from. Very cool. So welcome if you're just joining here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're gonna get started in just a minute. We are live on LinkedIn, and we're also live in this Zoom session. And so also, Lydia, thank you for pointing out the plural, not possessive mark. Thank you. We'll fix that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, Sarah. So let's get started. If you're here, type in the comments, what business are you in? Type in the comments, what business are you in and where are you coming in from? What state? Not emotional state, but perhaps physical state, physical city. Where are you coming in from? Sarah, Telecommunications, Pennsylvania. Welcome, Sarah. Okay, and Paul, sales enablement software vendor, Tustin, California. Welcome, Paul. And also to answer this question, are you selling an innovation? Are you selling an innovation? If you are, that's cool, Paul. That's cool. We're going to be talking about that. If you're selling an innovation, I guess my question to you is, who really gets to say that you're selling an innovation? Isn't an innovation a judgment that you make? So let's launch this poll. Who really gets to say that your innovation is revolutionary or innovative? Like if you're using those words on your website to describe what you're selling, do you really get to say that? So answer this poll. Who gets to say it? You do, your customers do, your marketing team does. I'm sure they do. If you pay them money, they're going to be like, of course it's innovative. That's what we do. We're going to market the hell out of your product. So of course they're going to say that. But who really gets to say it? Who really does? Like say it, publish it. Do you do, your customers do your parents get to say that? All right, we're going to end the poll. And if you're here, just type in the comments where you're coming in from and what business you're in. Let's share the results here. Who gets to say? So yes, your customers get to say it. But if we call a spade, I'm sure a lot of you here today because you may be saying what you're offering is innovative. And we're going to be talking about that today. So type in the comments where you're coming in from right now. That'd be great. Maynard Timmons, Maynard from Bentonville, AR. I think that's Arkansas. Scott, IT Consulting, Florida in the US. More specifically, RevOps solution provider. Thank you, Lydia. Phil, Logic, Washington, D.C., healthcare. So about the innovation thing, if you're saying that your product is revolutionary and innovative, the truth is People believe in the things they themselves decide, not the things you tell them. So you really can't tell people that your thing is innovative. I mean, that is just the reality. We're going to start off with that webinar, that comment here. Type in the comments, who is your ideal customer? So who is your ideal customer? And this is important to have in mind today as we are discussing the 5-part recipe. So we're here today. I'm Greg Rosner, the CEO of Pitch Kitchen. We're here with Reese Gomez.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, and Reese and I are both drinking Pellegrino by chance. Hold up your Pellegrino. What's the coincidence that actually could happen? So who is this webinar here for? The 5-part recipe is for CEOs, COOs, business owners, hands-on investors, selling an innovation. Now, it's okay that you yourself know that you're selling an innovation, but you really can't say it. But it's okay that you're selling one. It's for business owners who want to attract their ideal customers and double their revenue. I also say it's for business owners, CEOs that want to take a sales approach to marketing. What do you think about that, Reese? Taking a sales approach to marketing. And
I think that's from my experience, that's why marketing exists for the most part, is to lay tracks for sales and help to get more customers. So if you don't have that kind of alignment, it's really hard to be successful.
Yeah. And welcome, Sarah. I'm delighted that you're here on the video, but just so you know, if you don't want to have your video on, you don't have to, but welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. We're going to be asking specific questions to you during this workshop, masterclass. So you feel free to put on the webinar, your webcam when we get to that. So this is for CEOs who want to align their team and dominate their category. So here's my promise to you, and Reese and I are going to be presenting today. So really our promise to you is that in the next 45 minutes, we're going to be talking about how to simplify your message without losing what it takes or what makes your solution so special and so unique. We're going to be talking about how to facilitate an unforgettable sales presentation. I mean, that means unforgettable. They won't forget without spending a gazillion dollars and hours on leave behind slides that no one actually reads when you email them. We're going to talk about how to stand out in a noisy market, even if your customers don't even know that they need your solution. I know many of us are selling innovations that your customers don't even know that they need. So how do you stand out in a noisy market where everyone is promoting their product that does everything? We're going to be talking today, and my promise to you is to talk about how to get your prospects to own your proposal. So Reese, you're going to be talking about this today in your part. How do you get prospects to own the proposal that you send to them without having to hire a full-time rock star CMO, CSO, or CRO? And the acronyms: Chief Marketing Officer, Chief Sales Officer, Chief Revenue Officer. All right, and so my promise to you is to how to attract ideal customers without wasting a ton of money on marketing. So I know that's a big promise to do in 45 minutes, but we can actually get this done. So welcome if you're here. I'm Greg Rosner, Reese Gomez, CEO of SalesSparks. If you're just joining here, type in the comments where you're coming in from, who is your ideal customer, and we're going to get started. So it's kind of like a masterclass workshop. So we're going to be asking you questions throughout. Feel free to type into the comments. Looks like Sarah is from mid-large businesses as who your ideal customers are. Be specific, like what kind of businesses. Certainly, I'm sure you have a focus. But before we get started, I want to make sure that does this sound like you? Before we get started, where you have read all these great marketing books, all these great sales books like Gap Selling, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, This is Marketing by Seth Godin, but really you have struggled to implement some of these awesome ideas that you've read, then you're in the right place for this workshop. Are you spending money on a graphics gal, on a website guy that's producing great content, on a social gal doing social media advertising, maybe even a PPC campaign, a PPC person, but you seem to be, if you step back, missing a single compelling story that brings everything together, aligns your team, and attracts your ideal customers, you're in the right place. Do you feel a little bit embarrassed by the sales decks that you're using to present? Perhaps they're more like documents or proposals that are not really presentations and rather unforgettable. Are you sending your presentations and emails and not hearing back? Do you secretly think or think to yourself, look, if they only really knew the power of what our solution could be, it would be a no-brainer for them. If this is what you're thinking, you are in the right place for today's webinar. Are you also hearing from your salespeople, your salesperson that's telling you, like, look, if I can just get on the phone with them and have a real conversation, I could win the deal. But getting them on the phone, attracting them in the first place is really a struggle. Are you looking at the other products that sell similar solutions as you, or even different solutions, but they seem to be winning your same customers, like out ahead, and yet your feature set or your product is so much better than theirs, and you're frustrated by seeing your competition out there in the distance? And anyway, that guy that's out in the distance is an old guy, kind of like me, and you're here young and fit, and they're winning. Is your website using language like this, language that says like software platform that has like seamlessly integrated or robust? I mean, Reese, what are some of the words that we see in marketing that means absolutely nothing to absolutely everybody? If your website is using language like this, you are in the right place.
Transformation, omni-channel.
Transformation. Yeah. So, by the way, if you're watching this, you have some keywords that mean absolute BS. Type in the chat some BS words you've seen in marketing that mean nothing. It like puts people to sleep. They're like those secret words you use in marketing that put your customers to sleep. Rick, to everyone, forward assist pistol grip. I don't even understand what that is. Okay. John, personalization. Yeah, so John has said personalization. That's another buzzword there. So here's a customer, ReadyWorks, a CEO had their website looking like this: creating innovative workflow technologies that drive high reliability. I mean, I use that like a announcer voice because we read this and we go to sleep. Our brains like shut down from this kind of marketing. So we're talking today about taking a sales approach to marketing. I just want to make sure before we start with the 5 steps, the 5-part recipe, that you're in the right place. So are you thinking to yourself, how could our sales messaging be simple? Because what we're selling is so sophisticated. Every deal we have is complicated. Every customer we have is unique. Every value proposition is customized. Every deployment needs configuration. How the heck can our messaging be simple? If this is what you're thinking, you are in the right place. Have you ever heard from people? Do you get this? I like what you're saying in this demo or this discussion, this presentation, but we didn't get that at all from looking at your website. You're in the right place. What about salespeople who, maybe you have salespeople telling different stories. They're really not on the same page. Or maybe you're seeing your pipeline increase, lots of new deals, but you're not really closing those deals, kind of staying static or staying on the line. And here's the big question, Reese. This is the scariest question. And I think this is just a reality. Are you secretly terrified that in spite of all your sales and marketing efforts, your big idea may not make it? And I say this because I think there's a reality here that, I mean, Reese, what's the statistics about startups in 4 years? In 4 years,
I think 10%. Something like that.
Yeah.
Less.
I mean, it's rough. It really is.
But the reality is, Greg, everybody thinks this. If you start a business, you're terrified. It's a roller coaster ride. There's highs and lows. So, I think that's what we can help people do is hopefully have more highs than lows.
Right. Rick, to everyone. So sharpshooter.com, does it have any poor sales words? I don't know the answer to that. I got to look into that. So here's the good news. The good news, people, good news. That those are just symptoms. And we're going to get to the recipe that's going to help turn this around for you. The real problem is that you haven't been using the right recipe. And the recipe that we're going to be talking about, this 5-part recipe, is a sales approach to marketing. But once you start using this recipe, you're going to have complete confidence in every dollar you spend on marketing. You're going to see double close rate. Absolutely, maybe even more than that, while speeding up the qualification of the folks in your pipeline. Your leadership will be aligned, and your sales team won't be rogue. Zoom meetings and presentations will be unforgettable, leaving your prospects talking instead of just you. And you'll really retap the joy of why you have this innovation in the first place. I asked folks here, if you're here in this webinar, are you selling an innovation? And if you do, you are selling an innovation, it means that there's something about that that you absolutely love. And we want to help you using this right recipe. You're going to tap that joy as well. So a little bit who I am, and Reese, who you are. Let's jump on the camera here, Reese. Who I am, I've been in the selling software and solution space for many years. Sold about $50 million worth of software and solutions to companies like Apple and Texas Instruments. And I noticed the pattern in the kind of marketing that salespeople were using. The sales decks were just terrible. They were like logo slides and slides that didn't help us salespeople have the right conversations. So I built a side hustle, designing sales presentations that really were using what I call the 12 conversations that salespeople need to use to affect change. We're going to be talking about that today. And I saw a pattern of what works and what doesn't work. And that's what yielded the methodologies that we're going to be talking about today, the recipe. Reese, a little intro about yourself.
Yeah, very similar background, all in healthcare, but the stuff that I do has always been around scaling companies fast. So what I did is we were really successful with a company. We sold it, and I decided I wanted to figure out what I had done that would work, and what did I do that were mistakes, and write that down. And so what we basically did is we figured out a business model where we can compare a business to where they are, to what the best practice companies do, and help them get there. And it's worked out really well. And Greg and I have been working together. We have a great recent story where we just worked together a few months ago. All the things that Greg said they were doing, and we helped them move along. And now they went from really building a business that was on a flat growth trajectory to now they're killing it. And so it's just really fun to kind of see how, when you put all these things together, how powerful it can be.
So thank you, Reese. So just so you know, there'll be a special offer for folks at the end. So stay tuned. This is a live discussion. All right, so let's get into it. The 5-part killer sales loves marketing recipe that smart CEOs use to 2x 22 deals. All right, let's get into it. The first part of the recipe, the first part is to lead a rebellion. So what do I mean by lead a rebellion? So y'all said that, when I say y'all, that's a Southern term. Y'all said that you're selling an innovation, right? Well, if you're selling an innovation, you're rebelling against something. Type in the comments, what are you rebelling against if you're selling an innovation? Type in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you are selling something that's really innovative, that really helps businesses excel, get better, evolve, do things better, what are you rebelling against? Type in the comments. So I'd say your real competitor, if you're selling an innovation, by the way, welcome. If your real competitor is that you are, your competitor is your customer's fear of change. And we're going to be talking a lot about this today, how that's your real competitor. And every great CEO, from Steve Jobs to Mark Benioff, they espouse a contrarian ideology. Look what Mark Benioff did with Salesforce.com. Ending of software, killing software. It's over. Software is over. Cloud is the new way. So what's your game over narrative? So what are you rebelling against? Let's give this some thought. Simon Sinek, in order to stand out, we have to know what we stand for. So if you're just standing for how great your product is, that's not going to be of any interest to anybody. That's not going to stand out. Udi from Gong, being polarizing is great for business. The power of being intentionally polarizing for business. So leading rebellion is about this polarization. So let's talk about it. Let's break it down. What are you really selling? What are you really selling? You're hiring salespeople. You're selling an innovation. What are you really selling? So if you think about it from your customer's perspective, they're dealing with their world today. You're selling something that's going to help them do things better, to evolve, and to get to a future state where they can be better, earn more, do things faster. So if you think about what you're really selling, your solution is a means to an end. It's not the end. Your solution is along that timeline. We're going to be talking about this. So really what you're selling is a movement. You're selling change. Now, you probably heard about this from the books that you're using, but you're probably not implementing this well in your business. Look at what some of the best brands are using for their call to action, in their movement, in their rebellion. The Wall Street Journal, Trust your source. How powerful is that? If you're going to read information to make business decisions, what's your source? Trust your source, is Wall Street Journal. Nike, just do it. We all know that. We all know what got Donald Trump elected president, a forward rebellion, speaking to people about what they wanted. I'm not a fan myself, but I know great marketing when I see it. That's some great marketing. Find Your Beach. I saw this on if you know where Find Your Beach is from, type in the comments. It is a brand, a B2C brand, all right, that is phenomenal and tastes great. That's the hint. Partner with Patience. Start with Why is Simon Sinek's brand. Own Your Tomorrow. If you know where that's from, that's Charles Schwab. Patience Before Paper is a customer of ours that came up with that. So the point is here, these are just 3 or 4 words that speak to the rebellion that these businesses are leading. By the way, Find Your Beach is Corona beers. They're selling beer, for Christ's sake.
Frank got that right. That's impressive.
That's impressive. Yeah. So Find Your Beach, they're selling beer, for Christ's sake, but Find Your Beach, that's a powerful story. All right, isn't it? So what is your rally cry? You're selling an innovation. What is the promised land that you're taking your people to, that you want them to get to by way of your product? What's your product helping, your solution helping them get to? So in 3 or 4 words, if you know what this is already or something that you're experimenting with, type in the comments. It's like a masterclass. Type in the comments. What is your hashtag? Or what is the promised land? Where are you trying to take your people in this rebellion? You're trying to take your people in a world where they can do what? Type that in the comments. I'm curious if you're able to articulate in words in your marketing, where is that future state? So look at what Gong does. You probably heard of Gong. They're saying, we're going to take you to a world where in sales, the reality of what's going on is your world instead of a bunch of opinions. Such a clear narrative of where the promised land is. Behavior Science Tech. Stop doing this, start doing that. The old world is delivering at any cost. The new world is cost-effective delivery. It's so brilliant for this particular customer. It's like a dog whistle for their customers. The old way, checklists. The new way, smart forms. Okay, so the new world there, the promised land is smart forms. Okay, so if you know what this is for your business, like Greg Heaps. Hello, Greg. What's going on, brother? Automate your analytics. I like that, Greg. That's fabulous because it speaks to what you're asking your customers to do in order so that they can be successful. And your product is probably helping them with that analytics. So very well done. I give you a 9.9 on that. Olympics is coming up, so there's my Olympic number. Real quick, Kimberly Tableman was leading a team of 12. And really, her customers could not even differentiate what they're selling from their competition, failing to book new conversations, missing sales targets, and really embarrassed by their homepage. Afterwards, came up with their really rebellion, what they're helping pharmaceutical companies with, really making pharmaceutical companies patients into partners, which is what the pharma companies, the big pharma, really needs to do to be successful. So anyway, afterwards, confident with their story, positioned as the leader in the space and closing big opportunities. So here's the harsh news, if you believe that you are selling an innovation, but you're not leading rebellion against the status quo, I'd like to say you're just a follower in a sideshow selling some popcorn because it's not very compelling. But if you're selling an innovation that you believe in that's really helping the people you serve, then you should be shouting from the mountaintops what you want them to do. Number 2, so let's just check in with you. If that makes sense, type in the comments, that makes sense. So Frank, DIY is difficult. So what I like about that is that it's just stating a fact. What I don't like about that is that
Sorry, could you say that again?
Siri, I'm not talking.
Trouble hearing you.
I'm not talking to you, Siri. What I don't like about that is it doesn't tell me, your ideal customer, what I need to do in order to be successful. All right. So number 2, start with the problem. Myth busting number 1. Promoting your solution doesn't end in selling it. It doesn't. You know how much money, I can't even imagine how much money is being spent on marketing that's promotional that does not end in selling it. I know as a seller myself, for many years, I've seen enormous amounts of dollars spent that didn't result in sales, and it was very discouraging. Myth busting number 2, demoing the solution doesn't convince anyone of anything. And how many people here, show of hands or whatever, type in the comments, you've seen this, where demo after demo after demo, people are saying, that's interesting, that's nice, but maybe next year. So it really, demoing how great you think your solution is does not convince anyone of anything. I'm going to bust another myth here too with the second part of the recipe. People don't really buy to obtain goals. This is shocking for a lot of people. People think, oh yeah, they want to achieve this. They want to do faster time or lower cost. They think that is the reason why their customers buy. The stark reality, and there's research to back up what I'm saying, people do not buy to obtain goals. They buy to avoid problems, or they buy because the current situation they're in on that Tuesday at 4 o'clock is no longer tenable, and that's why they're buying. Okay, it's almost like losing weight. Yeah, I'd love to lose weight, but do I really? Okay, it's got to get to a point where my physical situation is no longer tenable, that I'm going to get my butt up in the morning and actually go to the gym. And I did go to the gym this morning, by the way. Nobody cares about your why. Absolutely. So Simon Sinek, I love you to death. You're the best thing ever. Let's go out for a drink. But sadly, nobody cares about my why except my mother, my wife, and I don't know if you even know my kids don't care about my why. I don't know about you, Reese, if your kids care about your why. But really, your customers don't care about your why. They care about their why. They care about their goals and their problems. So that's why the second part recipe here is about starting with the problem. Because the biggest threat to your sales is not even competition. It is distraction. And if you're starting with your solution, there's a gazillion solutions out there, including the solution to do nothing, to keep doing what we're doing. All right. So here's the key to starting with the problem. If you can describe their problem better than they can describe it themselves, they'll automatically believe that you have the best solution. And I read this on the screen verbatim because this is that important to get under your skin, that every bit of marketing you do in your emails, on your homepage, there has to be a section that really empathizes and articulates their problem to the T, so that when they're reading it, they're getting like, oh my gosh, you guys really understand us. All right. So if this makes sense to you, type in the comments, makes sense. We're in the section of number 2, second part of the recipe, which is start with the problem. Here's, this is a website that's starting with the solution, and it doesn't work. Creating innovative workflow technologies that drive high reliability. This is the new website that starts with the problem. Patience before paper. It alliterates what is the problem today. Paper checklists that is taking precious nurse time away from patients and into checklists of paper that is doing really nothing to help save lives. So huge. And notice one thing too, the call to action is not learn more or get a demo or click this. It is get your paper impact assessment, which by the way, is a very clickable item. We're going to be talking about call to action so much better, what works, what doesn't work today. So smart hospitals use smart forms. Who wants to be a dumb hospital, right? So it speaks to the pain and the problem of hospitals today that are operating in the past with paper checklists. This is some really good messaging. So we're in the second part here. We're talking about the starting with the problem. And this is an example of a slide deck that has 2 slides here, 2 of 12, where it's slides that help discuss goals. And it's not a slide with logos and talking about how great we are. It's actually a discussion-based slide. Here's a discussion-based slide that looks like for having a conversation about problems, where you're talking about the clarity that you understand problems with respect to the typical customers. And this may not mean much to you, but this means a lot to behavior science technologies customers, as a structure like this would work great for you. 2 of the 12 conversations. If that makes sense, type in the comments, makes sense. All right, so hashtag no more silos. So I like that, no more silos. What I don't like about that is it's almost like standing on the sideline as a spectator of life. So yeah, we shouldn't have more silos, but it doesn't say to me what benefit it would be for me in my world, my business, to create my world to have no silos. So I would tailor that to start with a verb instead of a descriptive. I don't know what the word no is, but you need to start with a verb that calls your people to action. All right, if that makes sense, type in the comments, makes sense. John Cochran, thank you. Lydia, Maynard, need he, this is great. So now we're into the third part of the 5-part recipe. Use the secret weapon. So here it is, folks. This is the secret weapon that I have found and we are finding is just helping companies totally kill it in their sales side here, because it really marries this love fest between sales and marketing. Imagine that, a love fest between sales and marketing is what we are calling the strategic messaging platform. So the cool thing about this platform is that it's not technology. It's almost like a political platform. So you say someone's running for president. What's your platform? That's what this is. So the platform has 3 parts. But why is this important? It's important, this secret weapon is because this old way of marketing, if you see this on the screen, this poor girl has a tuba in their face. How much of the marketing that you see today is a tuba in your face? Just type in the comments, 50%, 60%, 100%. Type in the comments, what percentage of the marketing that you see being done, and maybe it's even in your own business, is marketing that's a tuba in people's face? Louder, promotional marketing, pushing, that does nothing, for Christ's sake, does nothing for sales. All right. And this is why the secret weapon is what we're calling a strategic messaging platform, because promotional marketing doesn't work in a world where there's a gazillion solutions out there, including doing nothing. So the strategic message platform has 3 components. The first component is a brand script, and that's a phrase coined by Donald Miller of StoryBrand, and it's essentially a Bible, if you will, that informs every piece of content that you'll ever produce for anything that calls your customer to the change that they already want. So it includes your one-liner, your pitch, your 3-word rebellion, which, by the way, is a great book from Dr. Michelle Mazur called 3-Word Rebellion. Read that book. And it contains really the outline for the website and the sales presentation. The second part of the strategic messaging platform is a homepage that has all the 10 elements of a highly converting website that makes your customer the hero of the story instead of your product or service, which really nobody cares about. I want to say nobody cares about. I know that's harsh, but that is the reality. What do your customers really care about? Type in the comments. What do your customers really care about? Type that there. The third part of the messaging platform is a choose your own adventure discovery guide presentation that uses all 12 of the conversations that facilitate collaboration. It's a guided discovery. That's what you need. So what do your customers really want? What do they really care about? Yes, they care about cost, but I can tell you, if you can illustrate a problem that they didn't even know that they have, but it's a real problem, believe me, they will come up with a budget to solve that problem. So it's not just cost that they want. Your customers don't care about you. They don't care about your solution or your company. The harsh reality is they only care about their goals, what they're trying to achieve, and the problems that they're living with every day. That's what they care about. And your thing that you're selling, you're coming in there, kicking down the door or the Zoom meeting with your fancy pants solution is really a means to that end. It's not the end. So I like to say that your story here in using the secret weapon is not marketing. If we're really taking a sales approach to marketing, your story is not marketing. Your story is your strategy. Your story, if you do this right, is going to drive the product you build, the way you shape your product, the people you recruit, why you're doing what you're doing, and the company that you create. So I think your secret weapon is the strategic messaging platform that has those 3 components. So let's break it down. The old way, if you apply the old way, if you do not use the secret weapon, which is the strategic messaging platform, your presentation was a 20+ slide deck that looked pretty, by the way, but it had page numbers and it had white backgrounds. It was designed for a world that no longer exists, where people print stuff out. Nobody prints stuff out anymore. And there was basically one slide with 8 bullet points. And by the way, if you're guilty of a slide presentation that looks like this, slides are shit, whatever, I get it. It's really hard to like move to the new world. But the new world it's a choose your own adventure sales deck. All right. It's a visual guided discovery where you're learning more as a presenter about your customer's world, or just as much about their world as they're learning about you. It's a collaboration. Each slide is a bullet point instead of one slide with 8 bullet points. That's the old way. You want to be designing conversations, not slides. Don't design slides, design conversations. Really think about what are the conversations that I need to be having as a salesperson for our company with our customers, and write the list down. What are those conversations? And then begin to design your slide decks around those conversations. Do not design slides, design conversations. To that point, your presentation shouldn't be about telling people what they should think, what they should believe, almost like a sales presentation that says, our product, our solution is innovative, revolutionary, and breakthrough. I mean, I've seen so many shit presentations that say that, excuse my French, and nobody believes that. Better sales presentations are presentations that are asking questions and enrolling your customers in their story of change. Here's a great example of a slide in a sales deck from Behavior Science Technology that beckons a conversation about how their customers really understand what's going on, how they're measuring professional skills, how they're measuring clinical skills, how are they measuring engagement. The reason why the salesperson wants to have this conversation is because it's a setup for a discussion of how we're going to help you do that. If that makes sense, type in the comments, makes sense. This is critical because it's designing slides that are conversations about problems and about goals instead of slides that talk to the world about how great our product is. All right. So you want to turn your presentation into a collaboration for sure. This on your screen is what we've found over, I guess, 5 years now from doing literally 2,000 plus sales presentations, that these are the only 12 conversations you're ever going to want to have in a sales process. When I say a complex sales process, some are going to be simple. Some of you only have a few of these conversations. Some you're going to have all of them. But these are all of them if you were to have all of them. The only conversation that's missing on this screen is the rapport conversation. That's the one where you're talking about the weather, about everyone got COVID, but we're all feeling better now. If we didn't feel better, we didn't make it. Anyway, I don't mean to be light on COVID, but I had COVID recently, only 3 weeks ago, and it sucked, but I'm better now. Anyway, that conversation you have about like building rapport, what we all share in common, that's the 13th conversation that always needs to be in the sales process. Besides that, these are the slides that you need to build. So the old way about your company, you're talking about your company. The old way is you're talking about your company as the hero of the story. The new way is you're talking about your company as the helper. You're helping the hero of the story achieve their goal, get to the place that they want to go. That's why you built your innovation. That's why you're selling your product. It's a realignment, but I think it's a more true alignment to really what you're doing. So the bad news is, I know I shared good news, is the bad news is some of you here are not going to make it. When I don't mean make it COVID-wise, I mean business-wise. And Reese, I don't remember the statistic, but I'm seeing like even from Gartner, 50% of startups fail by year one. So make no mistake, the stakes are really high in getting this right. Reese, any comments there?
I've had like a front row seat to that with so many companies, and that's what we're in business trying to do and help. It's so fun to watch you, Greg, because it's just so enthusiastic about this, and it's exciting to be sort of a part of all this and helping companies make this happen.
Sure. No,
the failure stuff, the failure stuff is really sad because people put so much of their life and their families and everything on the line. So anything we can do to help that increase that success, it wakes me up every day to want to come to work.
For sure, Reese. So your marketing, marketing can't be the tuba in people's faces like that poor girl in that video, in that meme. Your marketing, the old way, is using expensive agencies that use jargon and buzzwords and personas. Personas are so 2020. It's 2022. You don't want to use personas anymore. You want to use emotionally engaging content that uses visuals and verbs. Visuals, we're visual humans. Humans are visual. Got to show visuals. Got to use verbs. What am I going to do? How am I going to do that? Those are the verbs that you need to use in your marketing, not the personas. Personas do not work anymore. Your homepage, the old way is a pretty and expensive brochure about us, and maybe several of you have homepages like this. The new way is a functional plan that's about them. A functional plan, when I say functional, what on that homepage can I use as your customer to actually help me get better, help me achieve my goal? And that should start with the call to action, all right, on the page. We're going to be talking about that. So here's a poll I did on LinkedIn. What's more important for your homepage in actually getting customers? Is design, beautiful design? Is it messaging? Don't need customers. I'm shocked that 6% there, Reese, say they don't need customers. God bless them. But for all of us that actually...
That must have been one of those robots.
Right. So every word on your homepage is written in a voice, but whose voice is it? You could look at your homepage now, and is it really essentially saying that we're the best? Or is it essentially saying we make you better? And I can promise you, if you look at your homepage right now, the voice is either in one of these two camps. It's either saying we are the best, or it's saying we make you better. All right? A very important distinction. And so this is the third part here, the 10 elements of a highly converting homepage. You need to have their aspiration, talk about their problem, their credibility, your credibility around solving this problem, your solution, how it works, social proof, their plan to get to success, download and exchange for their email in case they don't want to meet with you, a call to action that has to be very clear and specific and benefit to them, and a bot chat scheduler. You don't want to have this has gone away, by the way, in 2021. The more evolved websites aren't using on their homepage a contact form. They're actually using a bot scheduler so that the bot can say, what's your name? What time do you want to meet? And it schedules right there and then. Okay, that's really the new 2022 websites are doing that instead of a contact form. So that's kind of new, by the way, which is very, very cool. The calls to action, like what calls to action do you like better? The ones on the left side or the ones on the right side? The ones on the left side, learn more, get started. Those are kind of passive calls to action. The more action-oriented calls to action in your site should be very specific about what benefit they're going to get in their plan, their functional plan of getting better. Like get your impact assessment or get expert recommendations on something specific. Your website wants to do what Chris Voss said in his book, Never Split the Difference, which I absolutely love. I'm a disciple of Chris Voss. And basically, from your marketing and your sales message, you want to empathize. You want people to be looking through your homepage and saying to themselves, that's right, you guys understand me. You really understand who I am, what I'm trying to do, what I'm doing today, and what I want to be doing. And if your customers are looking at your site and they really have no clue of what you're selling, then they're not getting that's right there. Here's an example of a really bad website. All right. We've seen this before, like fancy photograph of a brain with like, what are those called? Those like computer chips. Like who does, what does this even mean? What is this thing? AI human interaction. What are they selling? Innovation and excellence? Like if you've seen websites like this before, type in the comments, I've seen stuff like this before. Means nothing. It means nothing. And sadly, it does a huge disservice to the amazing product and solution this company has. IPMD. IPMD give doctors superpowers. It speaks to the outcomes of emotional artificial intelligence, which is what this product does. It actually helps doctors understand the sadness and the grief and the pain that their customers are experiencing through artificial intelligence. How cool is that? Amazing. Game changer. Turned virtual patient checkups into deeply insightful interactions. So this is so much better because it speaks to that story. And this is using the secret weapon, by the way. So the strategic messaging platform is the secret weapon, where it's a one-page brand script. It's a homepage that has all 10 of the highly converting website elements, and a choose your own adventure discovery guide that builds collaboration. So now we're getting to the part that, Reese, I'm excited for you to talk about, which is selling that change, selling that movement, getting your customers to own the proposal that you're sending to them.
Thanks, Greg. It's really exciting. What's really interesting is when you look at the way we think about it, and what's really exciting for everyone here on the phone is, watching Greg kind of in action, putting all these things together. It's really critical that you get the message right, and he helps that probably better than anybody else. The question now is, once we have that, how do you take that to market? And you'll see lots of companies that even if you get the message right, how are you going to scale it? How are you going to sell it? How are you going to move it out? And so when you take the secret weapon, I kind of net it out in sort of three things. And maybe this is, if you sort of think about your sales process, if you can accomplish these three things in your sales process from the secret weapon, which is, why does the customer even have to change? You can move that back, Greg. I'll go to that one. Sorry. Why does the customer even have to change? So we're selling change, right? So why are they having to change? Why do they have to do it now? And why your company? If you get those three things and that message, it gets evolved and pulled into the strategic messaging platform, you then push it out into the market. So now go ahead, hit the button, Greg. Sorry about that. So now you then put that out into the marketplace. You put out your intellectual property, you put out your key messages. And, and to Greg's point, no one wants to hear how great you are. In fact, just yesterday I was talking to a customer. I went to their website or to a prospect, and they were talking about how elite they were. We are the elite. Nobody cares that they're the elite. It wasn't anything about their customers, just talking about how great they are. So when you take this out and you put it out into the marketplace, what you really have to then do is figure out how you're going to then measure and create that success. So the key here is think about who your ideal customer is. And I bet most people think about the ideal customer and think about the 100, 500, 1,000, depending on the size of your market. Who do you really want as customers? And figure out how you can get in there and how you can tell the message. Now, once you do that, then you go to the next circle here. Qualification. So one of the key things is spending time with people who actually want to buy what you have. And so if you can actually think about the why change, why now, and really have that implemented as a part of your process, anybody who doesn't have urgency and there's not a really compelling reason to change, there's no reason to continue to be talking to them. They might be nice people. They might have a problem that needs to be solved, but if there's no urgency around it, there's no reason to move forward. Go ahead and go to the next one. The discovery piece, really understanding their pain. So one of the things that Greg says that always resonates with me is that in a strategic platform, really understanding their pain points. When you can understand their pain points and articulate the pain points better than they can, that's when you really know you've nailed it. That's when you know you're going to have a high probability for sale. And it's that discovery process that you really understand what that pain is, and then have empathy. Really put yourself in their shoes to really understand that. And then the next important piece, now you understand their pain, you've qualified them. This is all about collaboration. So Greg mentioned the collaboration piece and how key that is. What you'll notice is you'll see two numbers you'll see a number on the left-hand side, and it's a 70% number, and that's your probability of winning. When you've implemented this strategic messaging platform along with shared vision selling, your chances of a proposal being accepted and based on some of the customers that we're working with is 7 out of 10, 70%. And why is that? Because you've done a really good job of qualifying whether or not they actually are even somebody who's a good fit for your product, that they want to buy it now. You've discovered their pain, you've empathized with it, and then you've created a shared vision with them, you've collaborated with them so that you really and how that process is going to work. And so with a lot of our customers, we create design workshops where your smart people and their smart people work together to actually solve the problem. And once someone has invested 2 or 3 hours with you to really solve the problem, you're actually giving them a proposal that is their idea, not your idea. So you can imagine when you're selling something that's going to solve their pain, they need it urgently, the chances of winning are really high. So that's one of the key things. So I think one of the major impacts that we can have here is if you have a lot of opportunities that are in your pipeline, but you haven't been closing in as many, maybe think about some of these things as part of what you need to do. Now, I put negotiate in here because you do have to do some negotiation. But interestingly enough, because you've collaborated, they understand the value, the negotiation phase usually goes pretty quickly. So we don't even spend a ton of time on that. And then the last one is the partnership. So what you want to do is you want a sales process that not only helps you to attract new customers, but that can be used to expand within a customer base, within your existing customers, and continue to add value. And when you do that, along with the strategic messaging platform that Greg talked about, the secret weapon, and you put this all together, you can win. So Greg, I know I moved pretty quickly there, but I know we're running a little bit out of time. So I'll send it back to you.
No, that's great. No, thank you, Reese. That's really good. I think this part about managing the sales process is essential to being successful. Without this piece, you're not selling.
One thing I should mention, Greg. We for the participants in the meeting today, if you're interested, we have a online training on shared vision selling. So if you want access to that, you can have access to that. Just contact Greg at the end. And if you're interested in it, we'll send you a link and you can go through the program. The initial training takes about an hour to an hour and a half. And when you're done with that, you'll have a really good sense of how you can create a shared vision with your organizations, with your buyer, and then have that high probability of success
Reese,
on the back end.
That's very generous of you, Reese, to offer that for free to the folks at this webinar here. So that's awesome. So here, I just want to let everybody know, like Paul, Phil, Rick, Selena, Tripty, Wilson, Lydia, Kelvin, John, Hilio, Greg Heaps. First of all, thank you for being here and spending time thinking about your business. Time is the most valuable thing that any of us have. It's the only thing that we have. So I appreciate your time. We're going to be wrapping up in just a few minutes. The last one I want to be talking about here is the 5-part recipe. The 5th part is invest in expert help. And, if you look at any great CEO, they have not done this on their own. They have invested in expert help. And, on LinkedIn, there's like a star rating. We are privileged and grateful to work with some great CEOs that have really seen enormous change in their business. And the reason why they get expert help is because when they're inside the bottle of their solution, steeped in it every day, it's really hard for them to see what should be on the label that customers read. And having an outsider like engage with you and your team is actually the story development process, and make sure that everybody who has the insights about your customers' goals and problems, those insights actually make it to your website. So you're not just hiring a marketer to promote the marketing of how great your product is. You're actually hiring a sales enabler outside your company, outside your organization, to help distill and pull out from the genius that you and your team have to get that front and center to really attract your ideal customers. So I'm going to move forward here very quickly. We talked about the five pieces here, the 5-part recipe. And my promise to you, I promised everybody here today that we would do this. Simplify your sales message without losing what makes your solution unique. How to facilitate unforgettable sales presentations. Stand out in a noisy market. How to get your prospects to own your proposal, which is huge. And how to attract ideal customers. I know we covered a lot here. That was my promise. Hope we deliver it. So now you guys are here, have a choice. You have a choice to make, which is to continue with what you're doing, and good luck with that. Or you can make a movement to clarity, which is going to help you win. Think about what would that do for your business, and think about, would you be okay if nothing changes in your business in the next 3 months, the next year? Would you be okay with that? Which, by the way, is a no-oriented question from Chris Voss, which is an awesome thing. No-oriented questions are so much more powerful to use, just so you know, than yes questions. So you've got a choice, and here's what I have for you if you want to make the choice to get some help. The choice I have for you is, I'm going to move past Jordan. I'm going to pay that in a minute. Is to give you guys a free messaging audit. So I've set aside 5 30-minute slots for folks in this webinar in the next 72 hours to basically dive into your current messaging and give you some advice about how that needs to be shaped, but also get your thoughts about how you can shape that in your sales goals, and really together come up with a plan to get it done so you can actually meet your goals. That's really what we're going to offer to help you. So
Sorry, could you say that again?
Okay.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Siri's loving you, Greg.
Siri's all up in my grill today. GetSalesEnabled.youcanbook.me. If you click that link or actually type that in the browser, that will take you to a place to book a session, a 30-minute session. But after that, there's like a short survey to make sure we can dial into exactly what you're doing today, and so that you can get the most value from that session. And it is absolutely free, but there's a catch. And so let me tell you what the catch is. It's absolutely free. The catch is this is for CEOs, COOs, business owners, hands-on investors only that are selling an innovation, or at least you believe what you're selling is an innovation and you want to lead the category. It has to be you. Business owners who are willing to make changes to their marketing approach. If you're not willing to make changes to your marketing approach, or your relationship with marketing is really too locked, this is not for you. And so why are we doing this? I'll speak for myself, and Reese, you can say why you're doing this. I'm doing this because all of my experience in my career selling millions of dollars worth of services has really combined skills that I've learned from bleeding on the sales battlefield. But also prior to that, I graduated from the best design school in the world in New York, the Cooper Union School of Art. So I'm combining my design sense, kind of like what Steve Jobs did with Apple. He came from design school. I'm not mean to compare myself to Steve Jobs, but doing what I do, I think that there's maybe a handful, like less than 5 people on planet Earth that can do what I'm doing by this strategic messaging platform. And I'm driven to share what I've learned about this to CEOs, for CEOs that really want to bring their innovation to market. Reese, do you want to say a little bit about why you're doing what you do? This is like,
I've just seen so many businesses just not make it because they have great ideas. I've spent most of my life in healthcare, so you see these really smart physicians, nurses, clinicians, people who have way more education than I do, but they just don't know how to take the ideas to market. And if they did, it makes such a great difference in patients' lives. I mean, that was one of the things that over the last 25 years, I don't know for sure, but I would like to believe that we've saved some patients' lives by putting software in place that helps to identify errors before that happen, potential errors, or identified when a patient had an allergy to a medication that somebody might not have gotten in time, or we got communication out to a doctor, a specialist that was able to weigh in for that patient so that they could make a decision that was the right decision instead of the wrong decision. I mean, in healthcare, they're just all over the place. And when you can be involved in something like that, it just makes you really excited. And, and taking these innovations to market, it just gets me excited. And, Greg, I can attest to what you said. I mean, I've watched lots of folks in this space try to do the types of things that you're doing with the messaging, and they don't do a great job. And people spend a lot of money, and you do it very efficiently. And the combination of taking this message and then taking it to market, we're hoping we can make a difference for those folks that are interested in talking to us further. I'm excited about it.
Thank you, Reese. So here's a funny poll up on the screen. What is your homepage in love with? And by the way, if you want to come off of mute, we're going to be asking you in a second, what is the one thing that you've taken away from this workshop webinar that you're going to implement by March of this year? We'd love to hear that. What's your one takeaway? But before we go there, what is your homepage in love with? So honestly, as Austin Powers says, a lot of people have answered honestly here to say that it's in love with their solution. And I compliment those people who have said that, because it means that they are in a place now to make a change, to make it so it's about their customer's problem, not the solution. So you can see the poll. I'm going to end the poll and share the results on the screen. And it looks like most people said that their customers' homepage is in love with their customer's problem. We'll see about that. It's really hard to do that. I have to say it's hard. Most marketers are in love with their own solution. And so if you're hiring a marketer that approaches marketing from a marketing perspective, instead of hiring a marketer that approaches it from a sales perspective, they're going to be in love with your solution. I like 1 out of 7 or 14% said, what's love got to do with it? I love that. What's love got to do with it? All right. So about marketers, for example, I think after this session, like the catch is as well, you won't even be able to look at your website the same way again. It's almost like having an affair, honestly, Do not book a call with us if you want to save your existing relationship. If you want to bring them into the fold, that's great. More in the bed is wonderful. But if you want to save that relationship, please don't bring them, because the marketer is going to say to you, I can totally do that. I can totally do that. But the CEO is going to say to them every single time, you didn't do that. And that's just the reality. So now let's take folks off of mute here. Please come into this call. Love to hear from you. What is the one thing that you will do by March? Let's hear it. This is a workshop, a masterclass. What's the one thing you'll do by March to really use this recipe, this 5-part recipe? Is there any element here that you would like to use? Who would like to come off of mute? We've got Kelvin, Lydia, Maynard, Nidhi, Rick, Selena, Wilson. Who'd like to talk a little bit here? What is the
Come on, take a chance.
What's the one thing that you'll do by March? One thing you got out of this webinar?
Hey, this is Greg. I'll jump in.
Let's see.
You hear me okay?
Yeah. Hey, Greg.
Yeah, I want to use the secret weapon. I want to dial that in. I feel like maybe with your help in the past, I've got the rebellion piece down to start with a problem, but I need to dial in the elements of that secret weapon.
Cool.
Transcript, the conversion guide.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Heaps. Thank you.
Yeah.
I say Mr. Heaps because both you and I share the same first name.
So we do.
Greg, thank you. Lydia, welcome. Hello.
Hi. It's been a while since I've seen you present, and you just get me so excited. Seriously. Your energy is unbelievable. I've been procrastinating on revamping my website, and I'm already making notes on what I want to do, and I need to create all of those other assets. I guess it's good that I haven't done them already, because now I don't have to throw them away or say, oh, I really like that. I'm going to start from scratch on presentation, the whole 9 yards.
Good. Was it helpful, Lydia? Thank you, Lydia, by the way. Awesome. And as you can tell, I got really energized about all this stuff because I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about what we do. So Lydia, was it helpful to say to focus on conversations instead of slides? Write down the conversations you want to.
I mean, but more than that, I mean, I do have conversations, but I don't think my conversations are necessarily focused enough. So having that kind of having that kind of format in a presentation, I think will help really move people off the dial.
Yeah.
Off the dial.
Yeah. So the question begs, yes, having the right conversations is what's going to move sales forward. The question is, what are the right conversations? Now, only you know what those conversations are, but I can tell you from doing thousands of sales presentations, there are only 12 that you'll ever have. And
right.
So I hope you screenshotted those 12 and you can use that as a format.
I did. So you're not going to be sharing this recording?
No, this is live.
Okay, so yeah, I did screenshot.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Lydia. So
yeah, one thing I recently committed to, because we're a complete CRM platform, and there's plenty of competition, and so I recently decided to really go all in on RevOps, and people, not everybody knows what RevOps is,
right?
So I just wrote this down as I was filling out your survey. RevOps is Ventive is a complete RevOps platform that focuses all your efforts on increasing your bottom line.
So what's the
first pass?
Yeah. So thank you. Well, we can talk about it offline, but I think that's a good start. Thank you, Lydia. I think Nidhi was on video. Nidhi, did you want to jump in and share the one thing you'll do by March?
Hey, Gloria.
Hi. Yeah, I met Mr. Gomez a while back, I believe a few months back, and I'm still stuck at one point. You don't have the fourth option is, I don't have financial resources and I'm not okay where my business is. So what is the option then?
Well, what you do is start with, we got some free sales training for you, and some of that will give you some ideas, and then you can always reach out and we can brainstorm a little bit about what you're trying to do. So feel free to do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to
Good to
nice to
see
meet you. So, all right, Maynard and Rick, Selena. Before we wrap up in a minute, do you guys want to jump in and say what one thing you'll do by March or one thing you got out of this webinar? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So the one thing that I did take from the presentation, which was phenomenal, by the way, is the call to actions on the website. Just that stood out to me a lot, just kind of addressing direct issues and problems from a digital perspective. I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your business, Maynard.
Digital solutions, software solutions, everything from app development, web CRMs, websites, digital marketing. We kind of like a monopoly for everything digital.
Right. So it's almost like saying, Maynard, you're a doctor. And that's
Yeah.
great. But people go to specific doctors for specific things. And so I think my advice to you is to dial into what kind of doctor you want to be. And then, niche down, because you basically said, oh, app development, we do this, but like focus. The riches are in the niches. That's my advice to you.
Awesome. Well, our name is the App Head, so we get 90% of our inquiries for app development, but that's good advice. Appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thank you, Maynard. All right, so we're going to wrap up in a minute. Rick, Selena, you guys want to jump in? You looks like you may still be here. If not, we will close out this webinar in just 30 seconds. I do not have a business, but taking notes when I do have one. Okay, Selena. Thank you. All right, good. So Reese, I also want to take a second here and thank you for supporting this webinar, and also thank you. It's very generous to offer the participants some learnings that they can take away, an hour's worth of learnings that they can get. So if people book a call with me, I'll be able to pass on to them the link for that offer.
Awesome. Yes, my pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you for the opportunity. It was great.
Sure. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you, Lydia. And thank you, everybody, for your time. Again, your time is the most valuable thing. And I am grateful. So with that, have a great Tuesday. And we'll speak to you guys soon.